Yo guys, what is up? Max here in Diablo 4 video, and today we're talking about the balance changes that happened between the Server Slam build that we played a few weeks ago and the Day 1 build that's going live tomorrow, as we already know what is being changed for Day 1. We know this because the game is available to preload, and people have looked at the difference between the, Server Slam version and this version that is launching tomorrow, and so we know all of the class balance changes. Obviously, they're subject to more changes if Blizzard does another patch, but they've gone out on Twitter and said that there are going to be, quote-unquote, very few changes between the Server Slam build and the Day 1 build, so we're going to be going over those very few changes today. Just a short video. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get right into it. So our first change is a buff to the accelerating aspect. Your core skills are going to increase your attack speed for longer now. Next up, we have a big buff to the Barbarian's legendary aspect, the Ancestral Echoes. Now, I was using this in the Server Slam. It was really great, and they're buffing it a ton. So this reads, while Call of the Ancients is on your action bar, damaging enemies with a Leap, Upheaval, or Whirlwind has up to a 40 to 50% chance to summon an Ancient to perform the same skill. Now, the big change here is they removed its 5-second cooldown. Originally, we could only proc one Ancient every 5 seconds at maximum, and that's assuming you're constantly lucky hitting, which you aren't. Now you can constantly be able to summon Ancients while you're Whirlwinding, which is going to be fantastic for increasing the AoE clear of Whirlwind. Super excited for this, and it's going to impact endgame for your Barbarian even more, because you're not going to get your lucky hit up to a really good chance until you're much further into the game. Next up, they did a massive buff to the Druid's ultimate skills. First off, they buffed Cataclysm by increasing its lucky hit chance to 72%, which now makes it one of the best lucky hit skills in the game, and they increased the duration that the massive storm follows you. Next up, they buffed Petrify. This encases enemies in stone, giving you a massive crit damage multiplier against regular enemies and an even higher crit damage multiplier against bosses. And they buffed this skill by increasing the length of the stun that this lasts, giving you more time to kill those enemies that get hit by the ultimate, and even more time to kill bosses when you use this skill on them. Next up, they buffed Grisly Rage by increasing the duration of it. This gives you bonus damage and damage reduction while in Grisly Rage. And lastly, they buffed Lacerate. This skill shapeshifts you into a werewolf where you become immune and dash. They increase the amount of dashes that you get up to 12 times, and they gave it an additional 100% damage on this skill. I wasn't too keen on Lacerate, but this buff looks really, really nice. Next up, we've got a Rogue change. They buffed the damage of dash. I don't see this being too impactful for rogues just because you're not using dash for the damage, but now it does deal more damage. And lastly, we've got a big change to the Necromancer. Now, this is a big buff to Golem, and I think it's geared towards not only one, keeping Golem alive more, but also increasing the survivability of Necro. So the passive for Golem is now reworked. It reads, you're protected by a Golem with X life and attacks for 21% damage, which is buffed from 17, and it absorbs 15% of the damage you would take and recovers life when attacking. Just having a Golem slotted is now going to give you damage reduction, as it is absorbing 15% of the damage you would take just having this slotted, which is really, really nice. Next up, when you activate the Golem ability, your Golem becomes unstoppable, and instead of taunting nearby enemies and taking reduced damage, it drains the blood of enemies, dealing 40% damage and healing 4% of its life for each enemy drained. Damage and healing received are tripled if only one enemy is drained. This is now a bossing skill, because that's 120% damage, and it's going to heal. I think this is a massive change to Golem, and where Necro was feeling pretty weak with its minions, it sounds like Golem is going to be a worthwhile minion for those minion builds now, doing way more damage and having way more survivability, and giving you benefits to actually just having it equipped. Lastly, they nerfed just about every elixir in the game. These looked pretty crazy for endgame because you could have multiple up at a time, and they were giving you pretty strong buffs and massive experience buffs. They're nerfing all of these experience potions for the most part, which is probably just going to extend the time that it takes to get to level 100. Maybe feedback from the reviews was that people were getting to 100 or getting leveled too quickly. So this is just going to slow down that process. And I'm kind of glad with the changes to the damage. I don't want to have to feel like I always have to have a potion on to be clearing Nightmare 100 dungeons, even though that is going to be the optimal thing. It looks like they were providing a pretty big damage bonus, so they're turning that down a bit. Guys, that is going to be it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what class you're playing tomorrow. I'm still a little bit deciding myself. I plan on going Whirlwind Barb. However, I don't see as much build diversity on the Barbarian as I see on like Sorcerer and Druid. And you know, I love making builds and build diversity, so I'm still a little hesitant on what class to go. But yeah, let me know what class y'all are going, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.